Welcome to the Pathfinder Beginner Box. And today we're going over environments from the Game Master's Guide in the Pathfinder Beginner Box. This is going to be the last thing I'm going to do in this Game Master's Guide because I don't want to show everything in it, and I want some people to try to get it themselves. We'll be going over the player's stuff next, but for now, let's go over environments. The environments basically are used for different types of dungeons, areas, and themes. So we're going to go over all these different environments in the beginner box, and then we're going to move on to a different subject in the beginner box. So we'll start with aquatic. Aquatic environments are among the most challenging for heroes, short of other worlds and unusual dimensions. Swimming. Athletic skills to swim. DC 10 for still waters and DC 15 for flowing waters. And 20 for swiftly flowing waters. So you have to roll every time you move in water to swim. Currents. Ocean currents, flowing rivers, and similar moving water are difficult terrain for creatures swimming against the current. See difficult terrain sidebar later. If a creature in a current at the end of its turn, it moves a certain distance depending on the speed of the current, usually 5 feet or 10 feet. For instance, a 10-foot current moves a creature 10 feet in the current's direction at the end of the creature's movement. These are the sights, sounds, and smells and textures of waters, but we're not going over that. Arctic. The main challenges in Arctic environments is the low temperatures. Page 47, but we'll go over that later. But Arctic environments also contain ice and snow. Ice, acrobatic skill to balance without falling down, DC 12. Snow, difficult terrain. Deserts encompass both sandy and rocky deserts as well as rugged badlands. Rubble. Rocky deserts are strewn with rubble, which is difficult terrain. Rubble, dense enough to be walked over rather than navigated, requires an acrobatics balance as well, DC 15. Packed sand doesn't impede movement, but loose sand is difficult terrain, especially deep or loose sand. Requires a creature crossing it in acrobatics to balance. Forest is next. Forests, jungles, and other wooded areas. Trees, athletics to climb, DC 15. Trees that take up an entire 5-foot square of the map or more are big enough to provide standard cover. Narrow trees don't. Undergrowth. Difficult terrain. Heavy undergrowth gives standard cover to anyone in it, but it's even harder to move through. Each row costs 10 extra feet of movement, not just 5. And vines, acrobatics or athletic skill to swing on a vine, DC 15. Mountains is the next environment, right here. Mountains environments include hills, which share many aspects of mountains, though they're not their more extreme features. Chasm. Athletics make a long jump across a chasm or a similar natural pit, DC 15 for a chasm with 10 feet across, add 5 for a DC for every 5 feet wide. Failing to make this jump taking bludgeoning damage from the fall equal to half the distance fallen. Alternatively, creatures can take a safer but slower route of climbing down the near side of the chasm and then descending the far side to get across. Good depth for chasms are 30 feet or 50 feet. Much deeper, and the fall is likely to kill them. Cliffs and slopes. Athletics to climb to a cliff, DC 10 for slope cliffs, 15 for steep cliffs, or 20 for sheer cliffs, or steep ones with a few handholds. Without extensive safety parameters, such as having a creature further up, sheer rope, a critical fail can result in significant falling damage. Lava. A volcano might have a small lava falls, just as heat from being near lava is harmful, dealing 1d6 damage per each round to anyone within 10 feet. Going into lava is almost certain death for anyone not immune to fire. It deals 20d6 fire damage every round. And the difficult terrain bar. When crowded creatures need to cross terrain that's hard to move through, such as snow and brush, you can use rules for difficult terrain. Difficult terrain costs 5 feet of movement to move into. And then the rest of the part of the mountain, rubble and serene, difficult terrain, especially deep and progressive rubble, requires acrobatics or to balance as well. DC 15. And undergrowth, difficult terrain. Take undergrowth on mountains is rare and follows the rules found under forest. Next is plains. The plain environment encompasses grasslands such as savannas and farmlands. Such terrain is usually fairly flat and easy to traverse. Undergrowth, difficult terrain. Think undergrowth in the plains is rare, usually planned hedges or tall crops like corn, and follows rules under forest. Next is swamp. Wetlands are the most common kind of swamp, but their category also includes drier marshes such as moors. Bogs. Shallow bogs are difficult terrain for medium creatures. Squares and deep bogs cost medium creatures 10 extra feet of speed per square, not just 5. If a bog is deep enough that the creature can't reach the bottom, the creature has to use athletics or to swim, DC 12. Undergrowth, difficult terrain, but it's extra hard to move through. Each square costs 10 extra feet of movement, not just 5. And that's all bogs, and now we're going to underground. Most underground environments consist of caves and other natural formations. Artificially dangerous and ruins combined underground features with urban features, like stairs and walls. Deep underground vaults have some of the same terrain features to mountains such as chasm and cliff. Cliffs themselves, athletics to climb the cliff, DC 10 for each slope cliff, 15 for basically the same thing as other ones, cliffs. Floors, natural cavern floors are really flat, that they tend to have abrupt changes in elevation or difficult terrain, and require using acrobatics to balance, DC 10 or 12. Ledges, movement across an narrow ledge requires using acrobatics to balance, DC 12. Magma, it's basically the same thing as lava. Rubble, difficult terrain, which you need to balance on if you want on it, is DC 17. And walls, athletics to climb a natural cave wall, DC 20. Since most caves are found by water, cave walls are often damp, making the DC 22 or 25. And urban. Urban environments are like cities and as well as buildings. Crowds through fairs and similar areas are difficult terrain. You might allow a creature to persuade a crowd to part and allow it to pass using diplomacy, intimidation, or performance. A crowd exposed to obvious danger, like a fire or a rampaging monster, attempts to move away from the danger as quickly as possible, but the crowd is slowed by its own mass. A playing crowd typically moves at the speed of 25 feet, potentially trapping or leaving behind slower-moving members of the crowd. Doors. Opening a door takes an interact action. Basically, these are locks. Poor lock, DC 15, 2 successes. DC 20, 3 successes. Average luck, DC 25, 4 successes. And good luck, DC 30, 5 successes. Rooftops. Use acrobatics to balance, DC 13, or athletics to climb, DC 13. High jumps or long jumps for jumping across roofs. Sewers are generally 10 feet or more below the street lamp. Raised paths on the walls while sewer workers cross with channels in the center cut. Some sewer gates require 2 or more interact actions to open, though they might be locked using the rules for locked doors above. Stairs. Difficult terrain for creatures moving up and down them, normal for creatures moving down. And walls. Athletics to climb, DC 18 for construction stone walls, DC 20 for a brick wall. And that is all the environments in the Pathfinder Beginner Box Game Master's Guide. Come next time to find something different as we're going over something in the Beginner's Book Hero's Handbook. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed.